Hello everyone, and welcome to Jumpstart Your Grant Seeking for 2012. It's a webinar with TechSoup Canada and GrantStation. Today we have Jeremy Smith, the Communications and Technology Director for GrantStation. He's going to be leading us through most of the information today. Speaking right now is Laurie Smith. I'm the Donations Program Manager at TechSoup Canada. And we also have Tierney Smith, the Community Manager at TechSoup Canada. And yes, it is funny that we are all Smiths and in no way related. We've been laughing about it lots. So Tierney's going to help you if you have any technical issues with your sound or anything like that. And I can answer anything about TechSoup Canada Donations Program. And then, of course, Jeremy is the expert on GrantStation. So I just want to remind you that next week TechSoup Canada is having a special promotion for GrantStation that will be starting Tuesday, January 24th at 8 a.m. Pacific time. So just keep in mind that's 11 a.m. Eastern time if you're on the East Coast. GrantStation will be available for $100 for these 2 days only. That's more than half of our regular admin fee. So it's normally $259 per year. And just to remind you, if you love GrantStation and you want to use it again, you can always renew your membership every year through these promotions. And we generally have 3 promotions a year, one in January, May, and September. So today we'll be going through in detail what GrantStation is all about and how it can help your organization. And Jeremy's going to focus in particular on how it can be used for Canadian organizations. Just keep in mind for the promotion next week, we cannot accept payment over the phone or fax, so you have to do it through your TechSoup Canada account. We do take checks, but we do have to receive the checks within 9 days, so you might want to use Express Post to make sure we get your check in time. And if you're not already registered with us, make sure to register your organization and or make any significant account updates like your contact information or address, just so we make sure all the information we have is correct. In particular, your email address, that's where we will send you your GrantStation membership fulfillment, so you need to make sure you have the correct email address on file. So you can always call us at customer service to update all that information. I just want to talk a little bit about who GrantStation's who's eligible for GrantStation. So we've just recently made GrantStation available to nonprofits. This will happen as of next week, maybe as soon as tomorrow. Otherwise, if you are a Canadian registered charity or Canadian Public Library, you are also eligible for GrantStation through our donations program. Just a reminder for libraries that if you do get a copy of GrantStation, it is not for public use, it's more for your back-end private use. A few logistical reminders before we get started. You can hear us, but we can't actually hear you. And if you can't currently hear anything right now, then you might want to check the volume on your computer or test your speaker setup, and if worse comes to worse, you can always dial in using this number below. Apologies, it's not a toll-free number, but you can set that up. And you should be seeing a control panel. If you don't see it, try using that little red arrow to expand it. And if you see that second part in your audio, that's where you can select telephone or mic and speakers. If you are using your computer to listen to this webinar, make sure you've selected mic and speakers. And again, if you're having trouble hearing, you could switch it to telephone and use the dial-in number, and that will appear once you switch to telephone. If you have questions, you can use the chat box below. And what we can do is we will be taking questions throughout Jeremy's presentation, and we'll take some relevant ones during the presentation. Any other ones we'll save till the end of the webinar where we can have a designated Q&A time. So, and just a final reminder that you will be getting a link to this recorded webinar at the end, and we'll probably send that to you tomorrow. And it's also available on our website under the Get Products section and webinars. So now I'm going to pass it over to Jeremy, who's going to get started on GrantStation. Just one moment. And Jeremy, I believe you are set to go.
I am right here, and I am all ready to go. We'll figure out how we can transfer this over just to make sure that we're showing off my screen in just a moment. And let me close my confidential windows, which I obviously have many of since I do work at GrantStation. And I'm wondering if it has shown up yet, my screen. Okay, that's excellent. So welcome everyone to today's webinar. I see we've got about 13 people here so far, and that's fantastic. And just to let you know who I am, my name is Jeremy Smith. I'm the Communications and Technology Director for GrantStation.com. And I'll be taking you through the GrantStation website and showing all the different features we have here with a special emphasis on all of our Canadian grants that we have listed within our database. Just a little bit about GrantStation itself. GrantStation is a set of tools and resources to help organizations identify and secure grant dollars. We're not a tech company, we're a publishing company. Research and writing are our skill sets, not database development. What we pride ourselves on publishing is current and forward-looking information about grant makers. And these grant makers' profiles on GrantStation are what we call in the game. We've done research to identify those grant makers that are accepting requests from a variety of organizations. This way, we're trying to attempt to keep you ahead of the game. Now, GrantStation itself is based here in Fairbanks, Alaska. We currently have over 20,000 members, and we publish 3 newsletters highlighting different upcoming funding opportunities. We have the weekly GrantStation Insider, which focuses on opportunities for U.S. nonprofit organizations. We have the monthly GrantStation International Insider, and this focuses on international funding opportunities, and the brand new monthly GrantStation Canadian Insider, which may be of interest to many of you. And this focuses on funding opportunities for Canadian organizations. And I'm going to show you later where you can find all of them on our website. And just to sort of begin, though, I'm going to start with sort of describing what our page looks like. So this is GrantStation.com. This is what it looks like once you log in as a member. And right up here near the top, we have any special new announcements. We stick them right up there. And a little bit further down, we have funding snapshots. These are sort of like a quick snapshot of the kinds of grants that we have within our, kind of what our grant listings look like within our database. I'll take a look at those in just a second. Since we have a variety of different forms of databases that we use, so each one looks a little bit different, but we've optimized them to work best for researchers within each area. So I'm going to go ahead and show you what a listing looks like within our U.S. charitable database, and we'll take a look at a Canadian one a little bit later on. But on average, you usually have the name of the organization, followed by the address, the phone, email contact, and then we break down specific information, such as the geographic scope of this particular grant, what their focus is on, the type of organization it is, and how much giving they tend to give, any specific grant details along with the deadlines, and in particular the areas of interest about this particular grant opportunity. Then we have the application procedures, and then we also have at the very bottom a last updated, so you know the last time we visited this particular grant. Going back to the main page for a second, you can see we also have our Track Success area. Right here, this is a series of articles that changes roughly every 2 weeks. It's usually written by our CEO, Cynthia Adams, or a guest writer. The Track Success series focuses on different grant writing topics, such as grants research, grants management, or philanthropy in general. And then just below Track Success is our Partner Depot. This is where you can find current announcements about upcoming opportunities that you may be interested in, usually of interest primarily to U.S. nonprofits, but you're welcome to take a look at it, and maybe if you work with the U.S. nonprofit, or if you're interested in reaching U.S. nonprofits, it's a way that you can reach them with your particular message. On the GrantStation site, right over here on the right-hand side, this is our online education section. These are webinars just like what you're taking right now. We do different ones, and they're available throughout the year. We have different ones available, and they all help you help dealing with applying for grants, understanding grants, and ways to use them better and more efficiently. There is a separate charge to take these. It doesn't require a GrantStation membership to participate in any of these webinars that we offer. So you're welcome to come to our website, take a look, and see if something might appeal to you. But that's just something that we also offer here at GrantStation. Now, GrantStation itself is divided into 4 parts. We have a search part, write, learn, and read. So basically, if you want to search for something, you go to the search area. If you want to learn how to write a grant application, at least the focus is on U.S. in this situation, we have information about that. Then we have our Learn section, which are really great little articles that explain how to best optimize your time. And we have a real cool tool I'm going to show you a little bit later on called the Grants 2020 tool, which is a way to get a quick snapshot look at what your grant funding looks like. And then under our Read section, we have a breakdown of all of our Track Success archives and then our Canadian, GrantStation, and International Insider newsletters. You can find all of them from there. So I'm going to go ahead and start today looking at our search area. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on U.S. and international grants, but I will spend some time just to let you know what these look like. So I'm going to start with U.S. grants here. And at least in our U.S. grants area, we have about 3 particular sections that will, 5 sections technically, but 3 that you can search through. One is the U.S. Charitable Giving Database, federal grants and loans, and then state grants and loans. Now, the U.S. Charitable Giving Database includes a variety of grant makers, foundations, corporate giving programs, corporate foundations, religious grant makers, associations with grant making programs, and other organizations that provide grants. And there's actually 2 specific ways that you can go ahead and search through this. If we take a look at U.S. Charitable Giving Database, there's 2 ways to look through this one. You can search by funder name, or you can use the advanced search. If you happen to know the name of the funder, or you think there's a way that it can be used, basically, if you think you know the name of the funder, or you have an idea of what kind of keyword would work for their title, you can simply type it in here. One that I do, and this is really very U.S.-centric, but you can use this in any way you want, is I'll type in a keyword of Alaska and hit search for funders. And then I'll see everyone with the keyword of Alaska in their title name. So basically, it's a title search. So, oh, okay, well, I'm based in Alaska. Here's all the different grant makers we have listed with Alaska in their title as well. You can also sort by funder name or sort by the grant range as far as the giving, as you can see, and then we'll put it back to funder name so it's alphabetical. And one thing that's also important to know, though, is our particular records that we have. So I'm going to go ahead and click on one right here. When we put together our records, and it's not just our U.S. charitable, it's also every listing in our international section, in our Canadian section, and our federal sections, and our government sections. Every single one of these, what we do is we gather up as much information as we can from the web and from other databases. And then we draft a profile. And then we send that profile to the grant maker. And the grant maker then reviews it. The questions that we ask the grant maker are, what are you planning to fund in the future? So that you'll be identifying the best program and the best fit for your organization. So we're not looking at what they've done in the past, but rather what they're planning to do in the future. So the grant maker takes this, this record we send to them. Often they make changes, and then they send it back to us. And then we publish it in our databases. Now this process our researchers go through, it instills a sense of quality in these profiles that our members have come to rely on. This isn't cut and paste information. This isn't just simply typing in a Google search and then throwing it onto our website. This is information that we take pride in publishing, and we know that's the right information. So I'm going to go back to our search results again, and I'm going to jump back to our search page. And I'm going to show you the other way you can search the U.S. Charitable Database, and that's the advanced search. Now there's 3 steps to searching in this database, and I'm not going to spend, again, a lot of time on this, but we do have a tour that you can take which would go more in depth into the U.S. Charitable Database, and that's available through our tour page, the top of our website, which I'll show you a little bit later on. But this is basically how it works. There's 3 steps. They're really simple. You can, the 3 steps is to, first you select the geographic scope, select an area of interest, and then you choose a source of funding. So in step 1, you can search by national funders within the U.S., search by funders with a specific geographic focus, or you can search by funders with both a national and geographic scope. So I'm just going to throw up an example that came to me a couple days ago. Let's say you're in California and you're looking for funding for nutrition, focusing on children. So in step 1, we'll go ahead and check funders with both the National Geographic focus. For the drop-down box, we'll choose California, and then we're done with step 1. In step 2, we are again focusing on nutrition. So I'm going to go ahead and scroll down here into the health category, and we're going to click on nutrition, and then we're going to scroll down to the very bottom, and right here under targeted populations, again we're focusing on children and youth, so we'll click on that, and that's the end of step 2. Then step 3 is the type of support. This is where you could look for money for building funds or fellowships, for-profit organizations, research money, seed money, etc., etc. And then you can check these if you want as well. If you don't check an option in step 3, it pulls up all the different results that you have that aren't specifically divided based on the individual type of support you've chosen. So at this point, we're going to go ahead and click on Find Funders. So we found 46 records that meet these particular criteria. That's quite a few too many, so let's go ahead and narrow this down. Let's see the ones that only give within California. So I'm going to go ahead and use my back arrow. Hit this back to search button, which jumps us to the top. Going to uncheck funders with a National Geographic scope and check funders with a specific geographic focus. So then we're going to go ahead and scroll back down to the bottom. Click on Find Funders again. Now we're down to 22 records. This is a much easier amount to go through, and again, it's much more focused on what our specific terms are. This is basically how this particular database works. You check the boxes, you click on and off, and you're able to find results that are more specific, and they're a better match for what you're working on. One quick thing you can do, though, and I'm going to do one more quick search, is right here you see this clear button. When you hit the clear button, see how that's checked right there? Everything's clear. We can go back to the top and do a brand new clean search. So let's say we're based in Florida and we're looking for housing for seniors. So again, funders with both the National Geographic focus. We'll narrow in on Florida. Under Community and Economic Development, we have a keyword of housing. And then I'm going to go ahead and choose under targeted populations, seniors and the aging. We'll leave step 3 blank and hit Find Funders. So 17 records. Well, how many give only within Florida? So we're going to back up again, jump to the top, uncheck, check specific geographic focus in Florida, jump back to the bottom, and we're going to hit Find Funders. So 5 that are a perfect match that are looking to give funding to seniors who are interested in housing within Florida. So that's how the U.S. Charitable Database works. You click on and off the various boxes.
Jeremy, I have a couple questions. Yeah, sorry to interrupt there. Someone's asking if there's an opportunity to search by keyword in areas of interest, and if not, what are the health search sections and our public safety sections?
That's an excellent question. That was the next thing I was going to show you, actually. But do you have any other questions specific to this area, which I can also handle right now?
Yeah, someone was asking if you could also potentially demonstrate a Canadian grant search.
I am. That's actually coming next. Our Canadian grants are in a separate database. I just wanted to show you this one because our databases are sort of entwined, so they go back and forth between each other. So I wanted to show you this one just so you understand how this one works, and then we're going to focus pretty much almost the rest of this tour on using the Canadian database for doing searches. But one thing that you can do, and this is something that we just got up within the last couple months, is under each search section, under U.S., International, and Canadian, they have a sub-area which is called search terms. Now all this information that I'm pulling up, like the housing and whatnot, they all come from these search terms. We use these generic search terms across our entire website. That's true for all of our federal listings in the U.S., for government listings within Canada, and any grants that we use at all use these generic search terms. So if you are, say, interested in looking for funding for a student newspaper that you want to put together, like an after-school newspaper, what you would do on this page is you can simply jump to the area where you think it would fit, which for me I know it's media, But if you don't know, you can hit Control F or Command F in your browser, and that pops up a little search box right down here. This is true of any browser. If you're using Chrome, it pops up here at the top, and this will search just within this page. So at this point, you put in your search term, and let's say, again, the newspaper is my search term. So I'm typing in that keyword of newspaper, and as you can see, it jumped to that instance of newspaper, which is under the publishing heading, which falls under the media keyword. So then you know to do a search for media. Again, someone mentioned health. Let's say you're focusing on diabetes research. So you type in the keyword of diabetes, and as you can see, it highlights and or jumps to that instance, which falls under the health diseases category. So you would do a search for health and diseases, and then you would be able to find anything that then mentions diabetes. It's subcategorized this way. I hope that makes sense. Were there any other questions?
Sorry, that's it for now.
Oh, okay, no problem. So just to show you, that's basically the U.S. grant section. Everything I'm going to show you, this is very cursory. Again, this isn't really the focus of this particular tour. Federal grants and loans, this is all the federal listings that we have. This is where you can find a breakdown of all the government grants that we've had. We divided them by quarter. Again, you can use that Control F or Command F search feature to go through them. But let's say, for instance, we click on January. You can take a look at one of these listings. They have the CFDA number, the deadline, the amount of funds available, who's eligible for these. Again, these are all primarily within the U.S. What you can find in this section, though, which I will show you right now, is our international federal programs. So within this section, which is also linked through our Canadian grants section, you can find various programs that are government-based that usually give to non-government organizations or NGOs on an international level. Those are all listed within this particular database here. And again, you can search through these very simply using Control F or Command F, using those keywords that you already researched by going through the search terms. And again, if you are in a certain area, say you're in international or Canadian grants, once you get in there, you simply click on search terms, and then you're able to find that list of search terms unique to that particular area. International grants is very similar to the Canadian database that we have, so I'm really not going to spend much time here at all. I am going to show you, though, here's a link to the search terms, and here's a link to the International Insider. This is our monthly newsletter that you can access as a member of GrantStation that breaks down all the different international grant opportunities that we have that are specifically going on. Usually we have one or two that are focused on Canada within this, and then the rest sort of run the gamut. They come with a direct link along with a custom write-up that explains what the particular grant is about, who they tend to give to, who they won't give to, when the deadline is, and what the amount is possible. So a real sort of at-a-glance, quick look, is this the right grant for me? One thing that we try to do at GrantStation, and something that we've been doing through our U.S. listings, our international listings, and our Canadian listings, is our whole focus, our whole mission in life is to give you information quick and fast and efficiently and make sure it's correct. We don't want you to spend 4 or 5 hours just digging and realizing there's nothing there for you. We want you to know at a glance if this is going to work, and if there is something for you, here it is. So instead of spending hours and hours researching, you can spend maybe 10 to 15 minutes and you've done your research for the month and you've found all the grant opportunities. Now some people have asked, well, how often do you update your grant listings? Well, we update them on various, basically it's like a rolling schedule. We're always updating something on our website, whether it's within our U.S. charitable, our international, or our Canadian, or our federal sections, or our state sections on top of that, or our provincial sections. We're constantly going through and updating, and since we have this relationship built with all these grant makers, whenever they make changes, I have to say at least 80% of them send us updates. So even if we're focusing, say, on updates in one area and someone sends us an update like, hey, we've changed our website, we have a new contact, we have a new person you should deal with, we update that immediately. So we have the most up-to-date information that is possible either from that individual's website or from their mouths themselves. That's how we really pride ourselves in having this up-to-date information that will save you time. So that's really our whole focus here at GrantStation. Just a little aside right there. Right over here, also in the international section, then you can find a link to the search terms, and that link, as I mentioned, to international federal programs as well. But let's go ahead and go to Canadian grants, because that's why you're all here today. even though, you know, I'm in Alaska and even I don't consider myself a U.S. citizen very often, especially when it comes to shipping. And this is a little tirade of myself, but shipping to Alaska is ridiculous because they don't consider us a part of the continental U.S., even though we technically are all North America. That's an aside. We're not contiguous, so basically we get horrible shipping rates. So here we are in the Canadian grants section. Sorry for the little tirade there. What's kind of nice about this section is that we've been talking with a lot of different members, and many of them are based in Canada, and they're wondering, well, why don't you start offering more and more features within Canada? So within the last 6 months or so, we've really been focusing on this area and building it up and building it up, and now we really feel we have a compelling offer to people based in Canada. And this whole section is focused completely on Canada itself. This particular section includes the Canadian Charitable Giving Database and listings of Canadian government departments providing assistance. Now, the Canadian database is the Canadian section of GrantStation's International Charitable Giving Database. It includes profiles of funders providing support throughout Canada and within each province. So to access this, you simply click on the Canadian Charitable Giving Database. And here we are within that section. To generate search results for funders that provide support throughout Canada, you simply click on the Get National Funders link right here, and it will pop up right down here. So these are all the different grant makers that we have within Canada that give specifically within Canada in general and not within a specific province. But what we can do then is we can narrow this down further and select a specific region. So let's say we want to see all the different regional funders we have within, let's do British Columbia, and get regional funders. So at this point, this is all the funders we have that give specifically within British Columbia. Now, if you look at an average record here, you have a direct link to the website, you have a custom written write-up for it, and then you have the information about the eligibility. I know that it was mentioned that now nonprofits are able to get access to GrantStation membership. And what we've done is within this section, we go ahead and put down specifically whether nonprofits can apply or whether registered charities can apply as well. So at a glance, you know if this is right for you or if it's not right for you, because we go into the website and we contact the individual grant maker and find out who they're giving to and who they're not giving to. And then if they're not giving to them, we leave them off. If they are giving to them, we have them listed in that area. And then we also add those keywords that I mentioned. So the very first thing you should do when you're doing a search, and I'm going to go ahead and back up here, because one thing about our site is it's very quick, it's fast to run around, is we go ahead and click on our search terms. And then we would go through here using Control-F or Command-F, put in our particular search term we want, find out what main category it's under, and what it's connected to. Then every single one of these keywords, I'm going to highlight a couple, like say art history, or crafts, or art education. These are the keywords you would then search by. These are the keywords that we use across our entire website. So once you've got a couple keywords for your particular organization, or more likely for your particular project you're seeking funding for, you can then reuse those keywords again and again for everything within GrantStation. So I'm going to go back into the Canadian Grant section now, and go back in the Charitable Giving Database. Now all these results that you pull up, they're all keyword searchable. So this again allows you to narrow your search results to the funder profiles that contain that particular word. Now to narrow those search results, you simply put your keyword right here in the box. And then we'll go ahead and type in a keyword, let's say education. And then we can choose to get regional funders or national funders or even continental funders at that end. Let's do national funders that give within Canada with a keyword of education. So then you can see North America within Canada, focus on education. Here's all the organizations that give in that. Now what you can also do is if you want to further narrow these results, so the keyword's education, well we can then use our Command-F and Control-F to further narrow these in. So then we could put in, say, a focus on children. And then as you can see, it highlights the very next instance of that. And then you can jump down to the next instance and find, oh, there's another one that focuses on children and education within Canada on a national level. So I'll jump back to the top here. So you can then narrow it further, like I was showing you earlier. We can say hit Nova Scotia, we'll drop the keyword of education, and just show all the regional funders we have within Nova Scotia. Then you can search through these accordingly. Now, some of the funders that we have listed in here do not have a website. These funder profiles, they'll link to the Canada Revenue Agency Registered Charity Database. Now, within that database, you can view the funder's Registered Charity Information Return, which includes contact information. So the way to do this is you would go ahead and search by the foundation's name within the Canada Revenue Agency's database of registered charities, and that would pull up all of their pertinent information. So let's go ahead and find one of those, for instance. I'm going to back this up a little bit. And I happen to have an example. So the Abraham and Malka Green Charitable Foundation. As you can see, this one does not have a website. Again, to view the foundation's registered charity information return, which includes contact information, you click on the link above, and then you do a search for this particular foundation's profile. So we'll go ahead and click on this right now. And then you can find it links directly to that particular charity's details. Then you can click on the return, but as you can see right here, here's their mailing address. And then on the return, you may be able to find the phone number as well. Unfortunately, sometimes this is all based on what information they provide, so at the very least, we do have the mailing address here. I'll go ahead and go back to the GrantStation website now. Now, what you can also find within our database is we have some funders in here that are also listed within GrantStation's U.S. Charitable Giving database. So that's why I was showing you the U.S. Charitable earlier. These profiles will include a link to the funder profile in the U.S. Charitable Giving database, which includes more extensive information. Often this is for global funding organizations that will give within Canada. So let me see if I can go ahead and find up this particular organization. Okay, so here's a good example of that. So here's a link directly to their website, but then right here is a link to the U.S. charitable listing that we have for this particular organization. As you can see under geographic scope, they give on a national and international level. And for instance, right here, oops, students in the U.S. and Canada are eligible to apply for this particular grant that we have listed. So I'll go ahead and close this. It'll take us back to our listing here. Now, one final tip for this database, and we'll do a couple searches in just a minute. There are some funders listed in the North America section of the database and the global section of our database that provide support for Canadian organizations. To search within North America, make sure that North America is selected from the drop-down menu right here, and then choose Get Continental Funders, but right here under Keyword, add a keyword of Canada. Because if they give in Canada, we have that listed in their record. So we'll get Continental Funders, North America with the keyword of Canada. So all these organizations are currently not included within the Canadian database. We realized this about 2 weeks ago. So now we're actually duplicating all these records so they will eventually show up when you do a search for Canada, these global organizations. And when I say global, that means they give within 3 or more countries on an international level. They will be duplicated within the Canadian database. So you can simply stay within Canada the whole time to do all your searches. And this is how we're always constantly adding and improving and making things better and smoother within all of our listings that we have here at GrantStation. So let's go ahead and do a couple searches here. I know that I have a chat box here, and we're doing really good on time. So I'd like you to go ahead and chat in like a concept or an idea, and then you could either tell me, Lori, or put that in the chat box to me, and I'll be able to do a search for that. Again, just to show you, yeah, if you've got some ideas, go right ahead.
Yeah, I have someone who's interested in trying to search something more relevant to their specific topic. Sure. So, for example, infant or SIDS or SUDI. SIDS.
Okay, yeah. Sure. Well, let's see. Well, first of all, let's go ahead and go into our search terms, because that's actually the best way to figure out what keyword do we need to use for that. So I'm going to start with children, and then be under public policy. I do not believe that SIDS, SIDS is not specifically listed because there aren't a lot of grants that are specifically focused on that. So often what we have to do is we have to sort of get a little bit larger on that. So I think we'll focus on health to begin with. And let's see if we can find something. Okay, so child and maternal health. So fetal newborn health care, childbirth issues. This may be the thing that we could search under, using this as sort of the basis of our search key. So here's our first keyword that we're going to use, child and maternal health. So I'll just go ahead and select that and copy it. Scroll back to the top, and then go into our Canadian grants section. Oops, a little ahead of myself there. So now we'll go ahead and put in our keyword there, and we'll go ahead and start with a national funder search for that particular keyword. So these are two listings that we have. So here's two, and if we go ahead and read through these, we can see quickly, well, first of all, am I a registered charity? Then I can apply for this one. If I'm not, well, I can't even apply for this one. So this is the one that I can look at. Okay, I'm a nonprofit organization. This is something I can apply for. And here's their specific terms of what they're looking at helping. Now, I don't see any specific mention of SIDS, so that may not be something that we have listed within our database, but this is a great start. And this is, again, just a first search based on 3 seconds of thinking. So I hope that shows how quickly you can use this for a search purpose. Do you want to give me another one to do a quick search with?
Sure. I have another one here for seniors activities, day centers.
Okay, that's a real good one, actually. Let me take a quick drink of water here. I used to have a headset that didn't have a mute button, so anytime I coughed or drank water, everyone heard it very closely. I love having a mute button because that does not happen anymore. So we were talking about seniors and an activity center. Was that what we were talking about?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. So let's go ahead and start with seniors as our keyword search. Okay, so there's housing. Let's find the next example of seniors. So basically targeted populations. We don't have a lot of options for seniors yet within our database. So let's do a couple searches using seniors, which is the only thing that I could find within our particular search term database. We'll look Canadian grants. We'll go on the charitable giving database. We're going to enter a keyword of seniors just to start. And then we'll go ahead and start on the national level. Purpose of the Bridge Street United Church Foundation is to provide support to national and international organizations, as well as Ontario, outreach, social services, youth, and seniors. What's interesting about that particular term, and I've ran into that a lot doing a lot of US-based searches, it's really broad. Because a grant maker will say, well, we give money to seniors. It's like, well, for what? And they're usually really vague about it. They're like, well, what do you want to give money to seniors for? It's like, we don't want to give them money specifically. We want to provide an after-school program. We want to provide a way for them to meet children. We want to provide them a way to learn more about education or further their education. And often you can find a grant that says they support seniors, and then you just you provide them with the project you want to do, and they're like, oh, well, great. Even though it's not specifically listed, that's something that we're interested in funding because it is directly affecting and helping seniors. But as you can see, we pulled up quite a few records, and we could even further divide these down into a specific region if we wanted to, and then down to a specific province. For the purposes of this example, I'm not going to get too much more deeper than this. But again, as you can see, you can find the keywords that pop up, and then you can find your eligibility, and then see when this record was last updated as well. So you know that we're constantly looking at these, making changes, and making modifications. I'm thinking, yeah, that's about, I'm doing a quick eyeball here. Probably about 25 different grants that we have listed with the keyword of seniors, and then we could probably further break these down and find 4 or 5 that give within a specific area, and then maybe 2 or 3 that are perfect for what we're looking for. Because the last thing you want to do is have to write 4 or 5 grant applications for grants you may or may not get. We want you to find that grant that's a perfect fit or as close to a perfect fit as possible. And I think we've got time for one more if you want to throw that at me.
Sure. Well, I have sort of two different ones. One is rare syndromes, so any grants related to that.
Okay.
And someone had another, I don't know if you could just address this generally, but for
Sure. Yeah.
faith-based organizations
Yes.
tend to be limited in the grants they can apply for. I don't know if you have a specific search term for them too.
That is a very tricky area. Faith-based organizations are often, what's the word I'm looking for? Often basically not given to. They're not usually like, well, we don't really give to faith-based organizations. And what it really comes down to is your organization and what specifically you're trying to do. Because often, and I've found, I've dealt with many grants and I've dealt with many organizations who are trying to write grants, and I've found that the best thing that they've told me is that if they can find an organization that has a mission statement that matches what their purpose is for a project or for their organization, often they will find a way to make it work. One grant maker who does, well, not grant maker actually, one grant seeker digs wells within Africa, and he's trying to look for international funding to purchase a bridge machine, well bores, and everything you need to dig wells in these impoverished little areas around Somalia and in South Africa as well, usually on the outskirts. And what he's found is even though he's a faith-based organization, he explains to them what he's trying to do, and then often the funder will say, okay, well, you know, that's something that really fits with what we're trying to do. Is there another organization that you can partner with? And then he's been partnering with different organizations, either based in Africa or based in the U.S., who are not faith-based, but then they're able to work together, and the money then gets passed to him to use for his project within Africa. I know specifically we don't have a whole lot of faith-based specific links in here. I was talking with Ashlyn, who manages the database, and she was telling me that just the other day. We are trying to add more and more to it, but it's very difficult. And you will find all that information, if it's there, within the eligibility section for a given grant. That's where you can find that specific information. Now, the other question as far as syndromes go, well, again, let's go back to our search terms. We're going to use our Control F feature. Actually, we don't even need to do that. Let's go ahead and jump to the health section, and we'll see what it would most likely fall under. I'm thinking this is probably going to be something, even though it is a syndrome, if we have listings for it, it'll be under diseases. So this is pretty much the closest that we'd be able to have. I was just going through the database, and just to let you know, we have about 1,000 to about 1,500 records in there that will give within Canada, 1,000 specific to just Canada, about 500 that are global grant makers. I haven't seen anything that addresses syndromes on a larger level, but usually on a specific individual type of topic, we probably wouldn't have that listed within our database. But the key is we're always adding more and more features to this, because this has become a new focus for us here at GrantStation, is building up this database. So your best bet would be to search under health or under health diseases. So let's go ahead and jump back into our Canadian Grants section, go into our giving database, and let's go ahead and try health diseases and see what we can find on a national level. Yeah, nothing under that specifically. Let's just go straight with diseases and see if we have any listings currently. Because when I say listings currently, we're constantly going through and adjusting this. We don't want out-of-date information here. Every grant we have listed is actively accepting applications or will be shortly. We don't have information from 2004 for a grant maker, who may have given once. We don't keep that information because that's a waste of your time and a waste of our time. We have grants that are accepting current applications, and more often than not, unsolicited applications. So you don't have to already be in with the grant maker. You can send them a letter of inquiry or address them directly and see if they are interested in your particular project or your organization. Okay, so we found a couple more under diseases that we can search through. But I hope this sort of makes sense how this database works. It's keyword-based, and then you can, again, narrow it down further into individual province as well. So I'm going to go ahead and jump into the next section we have within Canadian Grants, and that's our Canadian Government Grants and Loans. In this particular area, you can find a listing of national and provincial-funded agencies, and provincial departments for each of the provinces and territories. And these are all the different areas, organizations that offer financial technical assistance programs. So we go ahead and choose the particular province or territory that we want, and that gives us a link of government departments and agencies. So if we go ahead and take a look at, let's say, Ontario. So we've thrown the motto up there and the flag. I will try to get a larger flag image. That's a little small. And at the very top, we have a couple links here. These will help you develop your needs statements when you're writing them. Often they'll go to population statistics and information about that individual location. And then they're further broken down into individual links that take you to all the funding opportunities within each of these sections within that particular province. So if you are looking for some environmental type funding, you can find a link right here directly to the environmental website's grant application pages. We've done that for every single one of these links. And I'm not sure how many of you have dealt with government sites at all, but they are a beast to navigate. So we are always in here. They are always changing where things are. Every once in a while we'll have a couple dead links, but often we'll be on those immediately or they're being changed within the week. But this is where you can find information that will take you directly to specific grant opportunities that you can find. So let's say, and actually here's a lot of people have told me like this, well, what's the point of this section? I'll never get anything from the government. There's no money there for me. I can't give you a specific Canadian example, but I can give you an Alaskan example. And since we're neighbors, I'm going to accept that and say it's kind of similar. So I may be wrong on this. But I had someone here in Alaska who was looking for money to do maintenance on ski trails, on a public ski trail. And I said, well, why don't you go ahead and check the Alaska State Government and Loans page, which is what we also have for the U.S. Section as well. So he went in there, found a link to Natural Resources Development, or actually it was basically the equivalent of Northern Development, Mines, and Forestry. He went to their page, and they had a grant opportunity for outreach within the community. He applied for it and received $2,000 to use for developing and modifying his ski trail. And he only found it because he went to this page and clicked that link and found the opportunity. All the information that we provide you can find on your own, but we just make it so it's much, much faster. It's much, much, much easier to find, better organized, and up to date. You don't need to use Google to find things. You can use GrantStation to find all your grant opportunities. And I'm going to go ahead and just click a link here to show an example of what we do as far as taking you directly to the website with the information that you may need. I'm going to go ahead and go back to the main Canadian Grants section, jump on Canadian Grants and Loans. So they're all related. Sorry, not related. They're all represented. I'm sorry. Alberta, for instance, Northwest Territories, et cetera, et cetera. So you can go down this list and find the Canadian Government Grants and Loans listings that work for you. And then the final area I'm going to show you within Canadian Grants is our Canadian Insider. So this is our monthly newsletter. It's filled with the latest information on grant makers and upcoming grant deadlines that will assist the serious Canadian grant seeker. You can click right here. It's a breakdown of national, regional, provincial, and government-based loans that you can find. You can simply jump to them, and it follows the exact same write-up that you'd find. It has a brief overview, what they will and will not fund, along with any amounts if possible, and then the deadline as well, and then a direct link to the website. You can easily search through this as well. Again, we'll be adding one a month, so eventually you'll be able to go into the archives and search through an entire year of listings simply using Control-F or Command-F, putting in your keyword, which is again what we use across the entire website, and then you can search through all the different write-ups that we've had as well. Now, everything that you find within our Insider archive is also within our database as well, but sometimes we will get a few that don't fit with our database, or they come up and they go so quickly they wouldn't be listed in the database, usually with a month or 2 month total lead time before the deadline. We will list them in the Insider as well. So you can find them in the Insider instead of finding them within the database. So this is another great resource that you have available to you with the GrantStation membership. And as we've been looking at pretty much this entire tour, right here you can find the search terms as well. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit more about the rest of the website for just a couple more minutes. That's really our focus that we have as far as our Canadian offering within GrantStation, but we have a little bit more that you can do. Under our rights section, we have 4 different articles that are all about writing the grant proposal. Again, this is focused primarily on US-based grant proposals, but you can find information in there that might be helpful when you're thinking about putting together your grant proposal as well. I'm jumping into one really quickly. They're all divided into parts, and for instance, every part that we have for these US-based grant proposals, there's a downloadable option so you can see what a winning grant proposal looks like, and you can see what that component is of your grant opportunity. I cannot pretend that I've ever applied for any grants within Canada, so I'm not sure exactly of how that process goes, but I'm sure there are some things that do sort of go cross-border in this case, and I'm sure there's information here that could aid you. Now, under our Learn section, as I mentioned earlier, there's 3 things that are really handy. In particular, we have our Grants 2020 tool, which I'm going to go ahead and show you really quickly. But this is an interactive visioning tool that helps you realize grants potential for your organization. So what you need basically is a copy of your operating budget and then a breakdown of grant awards. And then you use this information to fill out the information as you go through this tool. As you can see, entering the information, you have a summary page. Once you click next on that summary page, you get a breakdown of a visual breakdown, a pie chart basically, of what grants are going into what section. And I'm going to show you that really quickly here. So I'm going to go ahead and call this the Jeremy's House organization. Our operating year is 2012 and 13, and our operating budget is very high. Okay. So we put in the amount of money we received from each of these different organizations. As you can see, I already went through this because I was prepared. This is the breakdown of information that you've already collected from grants you're either applying for or grants you already know that you've received. As you can see, each of these main areas is represented, and you can use them, I feel, for multiple purposes and multiple reasons. Oh, we didn't get that much money from those grant makers. Let's say we got 10,000 from those grant makers. Here's that summary screen I showed you about, and now we'll click our next button. So here's the Jeremy's House budget. Our operating budget of $1 million, we have this much coming from grants. Visually we can see that and see how much of grants made up our operating budget. Right here though, we can see our total grants breakdown. And just this alone is something you can easily print off and show to your fundraising group and say, this is where we're at, this is what we're looking at, this is how we currently have it divided down. In addition to this, we have an analysis based on the information that you've entered up here. This is an analysis written by our CEO, Cynthia Adams, that's based on what numbers you put in. So if you put in, say, $75,000 comes from independent and family foundations, right here, this is specific to that number that you entered. For instance, it says that these independent and family foundations can provide research and seed funding for innovative projects and untested ideas. However, federal or national government grant programs have the potential to take a successful project to scale. So it's giving you ideas of ways to focus your grant making. Then at the very bottom of this, you can very easily print this out or start over again and do a brand new grants analysis. This is a nice little tool, part of our Vision 2020 series. We'll be adding new tools roughly every 6 to 7 months. This is the first tool in the series, and we have a tour you can take that explains how you can use this effectively as well. Also, the Creating Time and Grant Seeking Calendar, also under our Learn section. These will allow you to figure out how can you make time for finding and, in particular, writing grants and researching grants. These are excellent webinars that we usually offer. We've made them into a written form with examples that you can download and worksheets available to you as a member as part of your membership. And right here under our Read section, you can find direct links to our Canadian Insider, our GrantStation Insider, and our International Insider as well. And just to show you our GrantStation Insider, this is sort of our current flagship. Oh, look at this. It's that special offer for nonprofits throughout the U.S. and Canada. As you are here today finding out, TechSoup will be offering a special price of $99 on January 24th and January 25th. One final thing, as far as GrantStation goes, you can always follow us on Twitter. We post grant opportunities there. On Facebook, we do a grant opportunity a day. And our media feed is a breakdown of all of our different information and updates that we've got coming onto our website as well. So I'm going to go back to the very top, back to our main page. And I mentioned under the tour section, if you want to take a tour that covers all of our different features, 26 minutes on demand, And as I mentioned before, the Grants 2020 tour is right here with all the different features and uses as well. And also, if you have any questions about GrantStation specifically, or you're having trouble with your search and you're not sure how to do something, simply click on our contact page and then send us an email at info@grantstation.com or directly email any of our staff here. We're sort of a scrappy crew, so not a lot of people, but we've been doing this for over, 12 years now. Wow, it's kind of scary to think about that. So we know what we're doing, and we'll be more than happy to help you. So info@grantstation.com if you have any questions about GrantStation. And let me go back to the main page, and I think we've got a couple minutes left. You want to go ahead and do some questions?
Sure. I've got a couple questions here.
Yeah.
So,
okay, yeah.
Oh, just the online education button you've got on there. Someone was asking about that early on. Is that just for the U.S. or for anyone?
Oh, if it's for anyone can take this. These are all, there are free tours that we offer, basically what we've just done today. But in particular, these are all paid webinars, roughly $89 per person. And if you click on online education, you can see explanation of what they are, who our presenters are, what time zones they pretty much fall into. Unfortunately, I'm making a brand new graphic, so this is not to marginalize Canada. Of course, Alaska's down with Hawaii, so what do I know? But we are going to make a North American map showing the breakdown of what section you are in. Basically, all of our webinars take place at 10 a.m. Alaska time or 2 p.m. Eastern time. So as long as you know it's 2 p.m. Eastern, that's your basis. But you can find all the different webinars we offer here. They're $89 per person, but they cover a variety of topics. And these always come with PDF downloads, usually samples you can take with you and use. And you can always ask questions throughout the entire webinar as well. But these are separate from a membership. They do not require membership to GrantStation. But they are a great way to augment your membership by taking these online education sessions.
Great. And I had another pretty specific question about, do any of the grant profiles for foundations, do any of them have the invitation-only grants available in your database? I'm not sure if you know about that one.
I don't know that. I'll have to talk with the researchers about that. So what I can do is I will make a note of that, and then I will go ahead and email, can I just email you, Lori? And then you'd be able to ask that, send that on to the right person?
Sure, that can work.
Okay, sure. Invitation only, correct?
Invitation only grants. Yeah, do you provide any grant profiles for that?
I'm assuming that those are going to be similar to the types of grants where they're not open to everyone, and for the most part we don't provide that, but I'm not sure if it's different within Canadian grant makers, so I will look into that. Basically, all the grants that we have are open to everyone. They're not primarily exclusive just to like Harvard or only for this particular organization that's in Zimbabwe. Everything we list is open to everyone as long as you fit the criteria for the grant. But I will look into this and find a specific answer for you.
Okay, great. And then someone was curious about the right section of your website. So I don't know if we want to follow up with that, because then we also have a bunch of questions about the promotion. So
I'll do the right section really quick, and then I'll hand over the promotion to you.
Great.
I mentioned our right section is basically if you're new to writing grants and you're not really sure how to do it, this will walk you through the whole process. It is not focused on Canadian grant writing. It is focused on U.S. grant writing, but I don't think there's a ton of differences other than specific filing requirements. So if you were new to grant writing and don't understand what I need to do, getting started walks you through 12 steps of what you need to write a winning proposal. This is written by our CEO, and she's written hundreds and hundreds of grants, winning grants, and this explains specifically, at least from a U.S. standpoint, what you need, but talks about specific things that you need to have in place. I know that the requirements for having a charity versus having a nonprofit are very different within Canada than the U.S., so some of this information may not apply to you, but it's great general rule of thumb information, things to think in mind when you're organizing your nonprofit. How do you create a budget accordingly? What's a board of directors used for anyway? What sort of documentation do I need? And then each of these steps will walk you through the process. Getting started, writing a letter of inquiry to the grant maker. What questions, understanding what it is. Why am I writing a letter of inquiry? And that's basically what you send to a grant maker before you apply, saying, I'm so-and-so, I want to do this. Are we a good match? And the grant maker says, yeah, you're a great match. Let's move forward. And then you go on to the third one we have, which is the grant proposal, which is writing the whole proposal. And then when you are denied, which does inevitably happen, we have a section on revisions and editing. How can you modify your grant, change your writing style to get that grant next time? So that's the right section that we have here at GrantStation.
That's great. Thank you. Okay, so I'm just going to change back to my screen really quickly just to link people back to the promotion.
Go right ahead.
And someone's asked here okay, so my screen should be showing here.
That's what I'm seeing. Yeah.
Great. Okay. So someone's asked the membership that they'll be getting through the promotion, there's no additional fees except for those webinars, right, Jeremy? That's an additional fee.
That's the only additional fee. Basically for your $100, or is it $99, I think?
For us in Canada, it's $100.
Oh, that's a
Sorry.
Canadian fee? Jeez.
A little bit of a currency exchange rate.
Well, basically, yeah, the only extra thing you would ever have to pay for on GrantStation is the webinars or our online education section. That's the only thing that has an additional fee. Otherwise, everything you see on GrantStation is yours for a full year.
That's great. And yeah, I just wanted to stress that if you can always renew your membership every year too during these promotions. And the promotion will start next Tuesday on the 24th, and all you have to do is come to TechSoupCanada.ca, and if you already have an account with us, you just log in, and you can scroll down to, we'll have a link probably on our front page, but if you go to Get Products, and you can always search by GrantStation, or you can use our sidebar here. Here you'll see two. One is the promo fee, one is the regular discounted one. At the time of the promotion, you'll want to click on the promo page. Right now we've disabled the add to cart function, but starting at 8 a.m. Pacific time or 11 a.m. Eastern time where we are, that cart will be available, and that will extend for the next 2 days. And so that's how you can make your promotion. Again, that will be on our front page. Right now you can see this link to the promotion on our promotions block, and that takes you to this page where it has all the information. And for, again, the recorded webinar is going to be under this section in webinars under Get Products. You'll see here is the GrantStation webinar. This is the registration link, and I'll change that to a recorded version very shortly. And we'll also be sending you a survey just to ask you how you thought this webinar went and if we could do any improvements. So we always appreciate feedback. Okay, and for any other follow-up questions, I can take them down and we can get back to you via email because I'm seeing a couple more questions come in. But thank you everyone for your time so far, and thanks for joining us, and thank you Jeremy Smith for a great tour.
Oh, thank you very much, Lori Smith and Tierney Smith, for being a part of this. No relation.
No relation to the Smiths. All right. Okay, thank you, everyone.
Have a great day.